Mm. It's so light and airy that mm, got that lemony, kind of like a lemon poppy seed, but there's no poppy seeds, there's chia seeds instead. Mhm. To a bowl, you're going to add 5 tablespoons of almond flour. Now you can use like the blanched, like super pale version of the almond flour, or you can use like the rough ground kind that has like little brown specks. It doesn't really matter. So 5 tablespoons goes in there. And to that, you're going to add a half teaspoon of baking powder. Baking powder, not baking soda, because baking powder is actually going to activate when you're baking it to give it a little bit more air. And that's kind of one of the things that you want to have in a good pancake. So half a teaspoon goes in there. To that, we're going to actually add a 1/4 cup of ricotta cheese. Now you can use skim milk ricotta, but I tend to go all crazy and use the whole milk kind. So whole milk ricotta goes right in here, a whole 1/4 cup. And I'm using my fingers because this is just for me. So to that you're going to add, now this is the juice of 1 small lemon. I'm using Meyer lemons today, which are like the little tiny ones that almost look like limes. If you don't have access to Meyer lemons and you just want to use a regular large lemon, you still just want to use 1 tablespoon. Just to make it, I'm actually going to add like a little bit more, like 1.5 tablespoons, just to kind of make it lemony in flavor. And to that, we're going to add 2 eggs, 2 whole eggs. Just going to break up these egg yolks and start mixing this together. And it's already starting to look like, like a regular pancake batter, except, you're using almond flour, but it's still got that nice yellow color from the yolks of the eggs, but it looks still, it's a little grainy from the ricotta cheese, and that's completely okay. When you actually bake these on your frying pan, when you make your pancakes, you're not going to feel that graininess at all. To that, you're going to add the zest of the lemons that you juiced. So you want to zest them before you juice them, because if you juice them first, then you're going to have these like flattened out squishy lemons that you can't zest. If you do not have like a microplane or a box grater with like the little tiny holes that you can get these like tiny zest pieces off of, you can really just peel a lemon and just chop it up really fine, like really fine. To me, this is like more of a flavor thing. It's if you want to add more, you can. It's going to add more of a lemony flavor to your pancakes because of the lemon oil that's in the peel. And then once all that's incorporated, you're going to add the final ingredient, which are chia seeds. So I'm going to actually add a whole tablespoon of chia seeds to this mixture. And it's actually kind of neat because when you bake them up, they kind of look like lemon poppy seed, but they're actually chia seeds that puff up, or they get kind of gelatinous and gooey, but this isn't really about the gooiness that you might get in like a chia pudding. This is more about just kind of making it puff up a little bit more when you're baking it, because a lot of high protein like almond flour pancakes tend to be like on the thin side because you don't have the flour that gets activated by the baking powder. Once that is all incorporated, you're actually going to let this sit. Chia seeds need a little bit of time to bloom, to kind of absorb some of the liquid that it's sitting in. So I'm gonna let this sit for about 10 minutes. You can let this sit, I don't know, all the way up to like half an hour, but I think 10 minutes is enough for these pancakes. So let me get all this cleared up, get my frying pan ready and a heat source, and I will be right back. Now that we've let the batter sit for about 10 minutes, I'm going to heat up my frying pan. It's got a little bit of coconut oil on the top, just so it's there. It's a nonstick pan, but I found that just starting your first one with a little bit of coconut oil is really helpful. So, it smells like lemon poppy seed muffin batter. It smells so good. And I think that, you know, if you put this in a mug and pop it in the microwave, you can actually turn this into like a mug cup muffin recipe. In that case, just put part of this batter into a muffin cup or into a coffee mug and put that into your microwave and set it for like, I think like a minute is probably more than enough. Maybe set it for like 50 seconds and then like see if it's like cooked all the way through. But we're going to start the first pancake. And this is a really thick batter, so you can actually kind of move it around and make it into that circle that you need. And then you're just going to let it cook on a medium to medium low, like leaning more towards the medium low side. Like you don't want this to burn underneath, you want this to cook all the way through without burning it. So first pancake is always like the hardest one for me. I don't know how it is for you guys, but first pancake always ends up, I don't know, either sticking to the frying pan or not cooking all the way through or burning on the bottom. From the second pancake, it always seems to work out really well, but we'll see how this first one does. The trick with pancakes of any kind is to just, you cook it over a low heat, and to make sure that you see these bubbles popping up on the surface of the pancake, and then you want the bubbles to kind of like burst and then not re-bubble. You'll see it in a minute. See, like right now you see these bubbles popping, but then they close right back up, which means they're not quite cooked all the way through from the bottom up, so you want to let them keep going. I take this first pancake and it turned out okay. It's always that kind of, not only is it like the first pancake, but it's like a pancake that I'm filming on camera, and it's like always like, oh no. And any pieces that have fallen on the side when you flipped it over, just kind of mush them all in. There's a straggling piece. I'm just going to go ahead and put that on my plate so I can munch on. Actually, maybe I can just try it. It's lemony. It's not sweet because this doesn't actually have any sugar in it, which is something to keep in mind if you do turn this into a mug cake. It's not sweet at all. So you might want to come up with your own kind of like frosting, or you may just want to add a little bit of sugar to your batter before you pop it in a mug and put it in the microwave. But for a pancake, what we're actually going to be doing is making a filling slash like a frosting filling. So that is actually sweetened. So So that's why I don't, it's like a regular pancake. Regular pancakes don't usually come sweetened. It's the butter and the maple syrup and all that you put on top that sweeten it up. So. Yeah. So that one the first one is done. I'm going to put it on my plate. And I'm going to go ahead and let that cool just a little bit while I make this filling. So while we do that, we can go ahead and add the batter for our second pancake. This recipe should make 3 super fluffy pancakes, which is great because you kind of want to make them it'll end up looking kind of like a layered cake, which is amazing. While we're waiting for the pancake to cool, we're going to go ahead and make our filling, this is 3 tablespoons of ricotta cheese, the same ricotta that went inside the pancake, and 1 tablespoon of yogurt. Now you can use like a Greek yogurt, you can use, I'm using a coconut yogurt in here, just because that's what I had in my fridge, but Greek yogurt is also really, really good. To this, you're just going to add the rest of the lemon zest from earlier. And you're going to stir all of that together. If sugar is not a concern for you, you can totally add sugar here to make this frosting filling. I am adding raspberries, and these are chopped dates, so like regular dried pitted dates that you can find at the store. You just kind of chop them up really fine, and I like using those instead of using sugar because dates actually take a little bit longer time for your body to digest, so it doesn't spike up your blood sugar, which as I get older seems to be more of an issue. If you are living like low carb or keto, which I'm not, but I tend to kind of lean towards like high protein, high fiber, which is why the chia seeds are so good in here. You can add like an artificial sweetener or a monk fruit sweetener to this, or stevia, instead of just regular sugar, or you can leave it alone. And then you can use like sugar-free chocolate chips or your favorite sugar-free topping could get used here. In fact, you could kind of like omit sugar altogether and just use this as a layered thing, and then just pour sugar-free maple syrup over all of it, or sugar-free syrup, because sugar-free maple syrup seems to be kind of a misnomer. So a sugar-free maple flavored syrup. So the first layer, move this over, and the first layer of filling. I like making my filling while the first one is cooling, because if you put this right on top of a really hot pancake, it kind of has a tendency to melt. So we'll divide this into thirds. This goes on the bottom. And you're going to add a few chopped dates. On top of that goes the second layer. And let's go ahead and cook up the third pancake. And still a little warm, but I think it might be okay. So, because this isn't a whipped cream, it's a ricotta and yogurt topping, it's not going to melt as easily as like just a whipped topping would. So, second layer, a few more dates. And again, because this is kind of a filling in between layers of pancakes, you can kind of treat this like you would a cake. You could put chopped almonds here, you can do walnuts, you can, like I said earlier, like you could do chocolate chips. I just personally think that dates are fairly tasty. And like I was saying earlier, you want to wait for these, like the bubbles to pop and then they don't close back up, kind of like what this is doing here, is a good indication that the pancakes have kind of baked up from the bottom up. So you're not going to end up with like this like kind of raw batter in the middle of your pancake. Third pancake goes on top. Ooh. Try not to burn my fingers. And we're going to add our final topping of our ricotta yogurt and lemon zest. Goes right on top. Those little flecks of lemon zest looks so good. And then you're going to add your final little bits of chopped up dates. And dates really, they're not sweetened, they're just naturally super sweet. So you're going to get little bites of sugary goodness that honestly is a little healthier for you than just using plain old sugar. I'm going to add a few raspberries to this. If you want to be super fancy, you can top this with some powdered sugar, but I don't have any, so I'm just going to leave it like this. Let me get this all cleared away, and let's do our taste test. I'll be right back. I'm so excited to taste test these lemon ricotta chia pancakes, which are high protein and also high fiber, but kind of low on the sugar department. So let's get started. Love that there's a little bit of the ricotta filling in between every layer, which means you get these like, almost looks like a cake, like it's got like pancake filling, pancake filling, pancake. So I don't think I could fit all of this in my mouth at the same time, so I'm just gonna take a couple and let's see. It's so light and airy that got that lemony, kind of like a lemon poppy seed, but there's no poppy seeds, there's chia seeds instead. The ricotta and the lemon juice really make this a light, airy pancake. The chopped dates add a little bit of sweetness. I have a raspberry. If you're doing like a high protein, kind of lower in the carb department, don't worry about, and you're not too worried about things like fat, this is a perfect brunch pancake dish. Looks pretty on a plate too. So if you're like, if you're in a relationship with somebody who's also like going to the gym all the time and they're really concerned about things like carbs, or if they're gluten sensitive, because this is a completely gluten-free recipe, I think they'll be charmed.